Hi everyone, I'm Matt Lovelace with Northwest Public Broadcasting's Vote 2022 primary election coverage. We're proud to partner with the League of Women Voters in Benton and Franklin counties to bring you a series of forums meant to give us some insight into candidates running for a number of local and statewide races. Now, if you have the opportunity, be sure to watch the full episodes of these programs at nwpb.org/vote2022. Now, we had planned a full program in the race for a representative seat in the state's 16th legislative district, but found out that one of the candidates, Sharon Schiller, was pulling out of the race. Now, the remaining two in this race did submit statements, and we wanted to let you hear those at the very least right here. We'll begin with the incumbent in the race, Mark Clicker, followed by the challenger, Jeff Strickler.
I want to thank the League of Women Voters for providing a forum giving candidates a chance to speak and give their insight as how they plan to help move the state of Washington forward. Unfortunately, I am unable to attend because of a scheduling conflict, but hope your forum is a success, and I believe it will be. Over the last 2 years, the COVID epidemic created the most difficult legislative sessions in recent memory. Virtual legislation was instituted to help prevent the spread of the virus. The goal was to keep the legislators and staff both safe and healthy. Unfortunately, this resulted in unfettered partisan legislation. Legislators were unable to work together across the aisle to find compromise over very important bills that affect all of us in both the near future and years ahead. I will lay out what I believe is needed to make Washington State a place where we can live without financial struggle, feel safe, and know that our children can receive a quality education. The Governor's Climate Commitment Act, CCA, takes full force action to curb climate change. Whether you believe we are able to defeat climate change or not, or if the CCA helps change the course of climate change, you have to realize this comes at a major expense. Beginning in 2023, you'll see the rise in the price of fuel because taxes will be implemented from the CCA. Legislation was proposed in the form of HB 1084 that would have completely removed all uses of natural gas both in our homes and workplaces. Fortunately, HB 1084 did not make it out of Appropriations Committee. Legislation for the CCA pushes for 100% electricity through renewable energy in the form of intermittent sources such as solar and wind, while considering the removal of our hydroelectric dams. This will only increase brownouts and blackouts. New legislation was passed that all new vehicle purchases beginning January 1, 2030 cannot be registered in the state unless they are 100% electric. This not only places a huge burden on working families and those struggling financially, but it also places a huge toll on our electric grid. We will not be able to keep up with the demand. I will continue to push for all sources of energy while we allow both science and the market to develop more clean and productive energy. Police reform legislation has been a disaster, and it has placed our peace officers and communities in danger. Our communities are no longer safe, and crime has risen like never before. The 2021 police reform legislation was to blame. Unfortunately, Democrat lawmakers introduced these laws that are creating the mayhem you see today. Sadly, very few bills to correct these laws in the 2022 session were not passed, and some bills were not allowed a final vote. We need to change this and give our peace officers the tools they need to protect our citizens. I plan to work with willing lawmakers to do just that. However, police reform is just one piece of the puzzle. Unless we change our prosecuting laws and make criminals accountable, we will never see a reduction in crime. It is time to pass legislation to not only prosecute, but to hold people accountable with harder sentences. Education is paramount, and our children deserve the best. Ideologies or biased thinking should not come from our educators, but the fundamentals of reading, writing, and arithmetic should be the paramount focus of our education. I will support all forms of legislation that adheres to this. Finally, it is essential that the emphasis of spending isn't centered around the Puget Sound, but legislators have to include all of Washington. The latest transportation package is a perfect example. Republicans were completely left out of the discussion in the transportation bill. We were presented the package only 2 hours before the media received it. The bill was pushed through along party lines. This is the first time in recent history that the transportation package was not bipartisan. The bill targeted projects and funding along the I-5 corridor with only a very few exceptions in the rest of the state. They also raided our public maintenance fund for large project in the Puget Sound region that is supposed to be used to maintain and repair roads for our communities that need it most. Partisanship should not be the new norm, especially when we're trying to work as one Washington. I hope to go back in person so we can change the mentality and find common ground solutions that work for everyone. It is essential that we work together on both sides of the aisle to make Washington State the best place in the nation to live.
Committed to the future of our region, Jeff Strickler is running for 16th Legislative District State Representative because we need a voice in Olympia who shares our values and will focus on issues over partisan politics. He believes that we deserve a leader who understands the challenges facing our district. Issues like the need for smart economic development that will enable people to afford housing, balancing the fight to mitigate climate change with the needs of our farmers, and improve funding for our district's infrastructure and education system. Jeff chose to return to Walla Walla 12 years ago as a remote technology worker to raise his family, appreciating the opportunities and way of life we share in rural America. An entrepreneur at heart, Jeff spent 20 years in the software industry, much of it running his own consulting practice. Several years ago, he transitioned to real estate, which has given him insight into the crisis we face in area housing. With partner Rochelle, they are raising 3 children, all enrolled in Walla Walla Public Schools. Our district is growing, but we need to be smart in that growth so that we don't lose the unique character of our region. Hospitality and tourism bring dollars, but create few sustainable jobs. Our schools are facing declining enrollment. We must do more to make this a desirable region for the next generation and their families to stay here and put down roots. As a hub of equidistant to Seattle, Portland, Boise, and Spokane, we are uniquely poised for transport, warehousing, and remote work. As a community, we can work together to hold on to the amenities that have brought us all here while creating a more economically diverse and prosperous future. People move to Eastern Washington for fantastic weather and for a relaxed lifestyle close to agriculture and nature. Climbing temperatures and drought are a threat to our farmers. Water rights and access to water affects us all. We're blessed with the power of the sun and wind in our region, which represent a tremendous economic opportunity. The shift to renewable energy will happen in our lifetimes, and we are uniquely poised to prosper as a region if we are willing to embrace the opportunity. Windmills and solar panels represent incomes for our farmers, and sustainable energy jobs could be a key source of growth. For several years, Jeff has served our community as a realtor in both Washington and Oregon, a vocation that is at the center of his concern about affordable housing. Some of the ways we can create access to housing involve creating more sustainable job opportunities and reducing competing cost burdens like childcare and healthcare. With higher paying jobs and reduced monthly expenses, we can get people into houses for which they might not otherwise be qualified. We must also look at creative ways to unlock opportunities for funding home improvements in order to keep homeowners in their homes and make more homes available, especially for first-time buyers. Jeff is running because he wants to work to create a prosperous future for the people of Eastern Washington. If you'd like to learn more about his campaign or get involved, please visit electjeffstrickler.com or find him on Facebook.
And there you heard from Jeff Strickler, and prior to that, Mark Clicker, candidates for the Representative Position 1 seat in Washington's 16th Legislative District. Now, there's plenty more coverage from contested primaries around the Tri-Cities at nwpb.org/vote2022. Thanks for watching.